Welcome to another episode of Around the House. I'm your host, Steve O'Brien, and as usual, if you're familiar with the show, we talk about home improvement, home repair. We have guests in studio, as we do today, and I will get right to the point, and we'll introduce our guest today's show. Today, it's my pleasure to be joined by Mr. Kyle Callahan, and Kyle works for South Shore Fireplace. And today we're going to talk a little bit about fireplace inserts. It seems to be very popular nowadays. Gas fireplaces, maybe even pellet stoves, things like that. Burning wood, and I'll let Kyle explain the pros and cons of wood versus pellets, things like that. But I know myself, burning wood can be a little bit labor intense and messy. So I'm going to turn it over to Kyle and let him tell us a little bit about South Shore Fireplace and where they're located and things like that. So Kyle, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about your company?
Thank you for having me, Steve. Appreciate that.
No problem.
We're located at South Shore Fireplace, 1127 Main Street in Hanson. We deal with sales and service of wood stoves, pellet stoves, gas inserts, wood inserts. We generally handle the South Boston all the way down South Shore.
No kidding.
Yes, sir.
How many employees?
Right now, Chimney Chap does a lot of our sales and service and installs. And right now, we have about 7.
Wow. So you're pretty busy right now?
Very much so.
This is the busy time of year, right?
It is. Once tax-free weekend usually hits in Mass, we're going right through to about March.
Well, you know what I've noticed, because I just recently put an insert in my fireplace, and I was trying to line it up, and I'll say it was around the beginning of December. I just got the bug. I seen my neighbor had one, and it was beautiful. I loved it. I said, I got to do this.
Oh, yeah.
So when I called the company and I arranged everything and got the pricing and all that, he said it wouldn't be till after January. And I said, why? He said, you wouldn't believe, people just want it for Christmas. To look good with the stockings, and everybody was in a hurry around Christmas time. Is that the truth?
It is. The holidays are a great motivator. Everyone wants their house perfect for the family.
Cozy.
Cozy,
Yeah.
and fireplaces make it.
Yeah, well, I happen to agree, because like I say, I burnt wood for not. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't using it to heat the house. I would just do it for maybe the look of the fire. But I would never want to leave a fire going and go to bed.
Not at all.
I always wanted to wait till the fire was out in case an ember or something might have got loose. And then, you have a screen. Obviously, that's
Correct.
supposed to break the ember so it doesn't.
Screens help out quite a bit. Another thing is also a glass door. Glass doors are nice, just where they really help close down that fireplace at night. Leave the damper open, all the smoke bellows right out.
And you guys sell all that stuff?
We do. We come up, take measurements of the fireplace. That way the door fits correctly, and then later on install it as well.
Interesting. I had an arched opening. Looked like a brick oven, like a oven they bake bread in, a pizza, the old.
Yes.
But I hated it. I regretted doing that, because everything you did with that type of fireplace, it had to be custom made. Even I wanted glass doors, and it was just very expensive to do that. So I just never did that. I got one of those, the screen that just went in front of the fireplace. But what I did, and I've seen it done, and I always wanted to do this to mine. I made the opening, I framed it out so that the arch is no longer there, it's gone.
Okay.
Because I bought an insert, and they would have made a metal piece to fill in the arch, because they only make those square.
Standard sizes generally.
Yes, standard size. So I had to frame the opening a little smaller, and I used that, they call it Durarock. They use it for tile.
Cement board.
Cement board. And it's a bugger to work with, but
Can be.
I'm fortunate I have the tools and stuff, and so I put that over the brick. Next to I have a mantle, a wood mantle, and I screwed it on with some masonry screws. I have a hammer drill, and I had granite applied over the Durarock where the brick used to be.
Right.
So I had black granite, and then I had the insert put in, and it looks like. It's the best feature of the house right now.
Completes it.
Yes. So, Kyle, let me ask you a couple of quick things for our viewers.
Please.
And what's the big difference? I know, in my case, I didn't have the opportunity to use a gas insert because we don't have gas on our street.
Okay.
The other option would have been propane.
Propane can be quite costly.
Yeah. So I said, well, it's not something that I think I'd be using a lot, but I've seen an electric insert that it really, again, it's not the same as a gas. It's not.
It does a good job, though.
But I paid some good money for it, and I couldn't believe how real it looked. And they told me it was about 8 cents an hour to run an electric versus the propane where it cost me huge money because you got to refill the tanks once in a while.
Right.
But 8 cents and something about, again, this is for all you out there that are into the ecology, or is that the word I want to use? Gas emissions, what do they call that?
Well, natural gas is one of the cleanest burning fuels out there. So as long as it's installed correctly, it's relatively efficient in clean burning.
It is.
Propane is a man-made fuel. Propane burns relatively dirty.
And they call that fluorocarbons, is that the word I want to use?
I believe you're correct on that. I have to double check
Yeah,
that.
because I think that's what they told me. There's no, something to do with I know my neighbor, I hope he's not watching. My neighbor has, he went to the expense of putting in I think he put in a wood insert, a wood stove.
Yep.
And he had a flue liner put in.
Stainless steel liner for it?
Yes.
Right.
And I think he burns rubber tires. I go out there on a nice, cool winter night, you want to smell that fresh air.
Yep.
You do a little snow shoveling, and it smells like, I can't even describe the smell. I don't know what he's burning over there. I said, that's horrible. Some of my windows are a little drafty, so it gets in the house.
Right.
If the wind is right. But I don't want to get off on that too much, but I just thought that was kind of funny. I had to mention that.
I'd be curious what he's burning.
But what is the, tell us a little about the pros and cons of a gas insert versus electric.
Well, right off the bat, gas is going to give you a nice aesthetic display, great heat source as well. Some gas inserts can heat up to around 2,000 square feet in a nice open area.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much a furnace with a view at that point.
Furnace with a view.
Yes,
I
sir.
like that.
I like it.
Yes.
With the electric ones, they do a pretty good job, especially these days with the LEDs for that nice aesthetic display.
Yeah.
However, the heat value isn't there like gas is.
I've noticed that.
They do have a heating element with a blower attached. It does a good job of heating up what's in front of it.
Right.
However, moving that heat to other parts of the room or even possibly the house can be a little too much for that to work with.
So if you're going for the heat aspect, you would want to go with gas versus the electric.
Correct.
The electric gives you the look. It's almost like you're turning on the TV set,
Exactly.
watching a flame. But I'm amazed how the flame, and I'll watch it and I'll key on it and I'll say, okay, it's like a magic trick. How are they making this? How's this flame? I know they have a mirror in the back, so everything
Correct.
looks amplified. But I'm watching the what do they call them? The little streams of fire
Yes.
that come up random, and I'm trying to see if it's duplicated. In other words, if this flame comes up over here to a certain, I key on that, and I'll kind of watch that side, and it flickers, it goes here, it goes there, but I can never see the same pattern. So I don't know how they do that.
They try to keep it irregular with pretty much a rod behind it with, it's not really tinsel, but it is a plastic piece
and it
that
spins
rotates.
around.
Exactly, and it's light, so it gives that irregular look behind it.
Interesting.
Yes.
Because I can't, I was looking for flaws. I was trying to say, why don't more people use these? But then I looked at a gas one and I could see that if you put a gas one next to an electric, it's,
Night and day
you can't
difference.
compare the look. And the
cannot.
gas does by far look like the real deal.
And if you're looking for a good heat source out of it, gas is one of the least expensive ways to heat. Now you'd mentioned...
Not propane, though.
Not propane. Propane, because of its added fuels and such, it can vary. You'd mentioned with the electric unit, it said 8 cents an hour to run.
That's what they told me.
You can't read into that too much, just where each town has different electric companies. Some have their own, which could be a lot cheaper.
Right.
And some have other companies which raise and lower the cost on a seasonal basis.
Right.
So that could change dramatically.
Right. Well, I just, it was one of the better things I had done I did it for myself. It's just, I haven't had time to sit on the couch and watch it.
No, it's a
but
shame.
it's next year when it'll be ready by it's done, but it's next year's when I'm going to enjoy it, Christmas time. And
Well, the nice thing with electric units is you have the option to turn that heater off and still get that nice, beautiful display out of it.
exactly.
So you can use it all year round.
Year round. And that's that to me, when I'm sitting there watching a nice movie, you turn the lights out and you get that little, and what I can't get over, this is technology, man. Is you just, because I mean, I used to have to tend the fire. You know, you got to
Right.
turn the logs and you clean out the embers after it's all the day
yeah.
after. You just sit back, push the remote, you adjust the
it.
flame, you can adjust the blower speed from the comfort of your couch. I mean, I don't know. It's just, I just think that's so nice. And again, when I was younger, it didn't bother me. But I want to talk about also. I think we had talked outside the studio earlier. We were chatting, and I had mentioned about the draft. They call it a draft. It's when you get the fire going at a good roar.
Yeah.
It's supposed to heat the flue up.
Correct.
And then you get the draft after that. That sucks it sucks the smoke out and everything.
You generally want to establish a good draft before you get your fire going. Just where if you don't have that drafting properly beforehand, that fire is generally going to bellow back into the house, smoke, and curl back in.
So I used to light newspapers.
That's the best way to do it. Priming
it?
your flue. It is. I still do it to this day.
Oh, no kidding.
Take some newspaper, kind of hook it into the damper area,
Yeah.
get the kindling ready to go, light those up. It's almost like a roaring effect coming up through the flue. It's letting you know it's time to draft.
Now let me ask you this. My neighbor again, nice people, wonderful people, and they do things right. What they did was they put a screen on top of their chimney with a little cap on it.
Right.
Is that to break up those embers? Like if you're burning newspaper and you see, I used to see it, I don't know if it was his fireplace or one of my other neighbors, you could see sparks shooting out. And I'm saying that's going to catch the house on fire if one of those land on the roof. I mean, is that what that cover's for?
Caps do help with that.
Yeah.
However, that's not the biggest reason for them.
Squirrels.
Animals, big nuisance, rain as well.
Wow, no kidding.
Oh yeah, if you don't have a cap on there, it's just the damper. Rain come in through that flue, come in through the damper, settle in the fireplace, and potentially go into your floors. So having that cap on there
that's-
really helps keep that rain.
That's interesting because I never had one on mine. And once I put the insert in, the company that bought it off, they said they'd come out and put a piece of slate over the flue.
They want to make sure no water's hitting it.
Oh, okay. I just thought maybe that was for something like that or to keep the animals from going in there now that it's not an active flue anymore.
Right.
You know, be a perfect breeding ground for
It can be.
raccoons or, you know. I mean, I was talking to somebody, I can't remember, it might have been the chief from Whitman. I might have mentioned about animals getting down in there. And I think it was the chief I was talking to about that. And what happened was at my mom's house, she doesn't have anything fancy. She's just got a chimney in the center, but it's only for venting of the furnace, the fumes from the oil burner.
Right.
And, you know, that can get a little sooty.
Very much.
I one day seen, no lie, paw prints coming down. You could see them on the chimney, and you could actually see them on the corner of the house.
Oh,
like,
yes.
like something climbed down, like the gutter where the downspout is.
Yep.
Hooked on. You could see the paw prints, and I assumed it was a raccoon.
Raccoons, definitely.
And the chief told me they will go in there for warmth. And I couldn't believe that. I said, that could cause that carbon monoxide to back up into the home if it
can.
can't vent out through the chimney. So that screen would be a great idea.
Definitely.
And is that something you guys install too?
We do. We handle, we come out, measure for it, install, all the above.
And you do, another thing too is the, I've seen people, especially in old homes, that in those days, they didn't even have flues. They just lined the chimney with brick,
Right.
and the mortar over time would break down and crumble.
Correct.
So what would you recommend in an old house that, say they want to use the fireplace for whether it be gas or wood, would you recommend putting something in there to line the chimney?
I would. Right off the bat, you'd want to have a sweeping inspection. Come out, take a look, make sure the chimney's in structural sound. See how big the flue is, what size liner we can get down there, and if it will accommodate the size fireplace that you have as well.
So that's the safe way to go.
Safe way to do it. Just where when you have exposed bricks in there,
Yeah.
water gets in there, cracks it over time with the
Freezes
ice and such.
Oh, yeah.
So over time, you could have smoke actually coming back into the walls. So you
That's
want to make
scary.
sure it can be very
I'll
much
bet you
so.
that's causes a lot of fires that we don't hear much about. But
Yes, sir.
yeah, because I mean, some people just don't think of that. And they say, "Well, I got a fireplace. Let's fire it up." I mean, if you buy a house, and Kyle, you'll probably back me up on this. If you buy a house and it has a fireplace in it, the first thing to do before you light a fire is have it inspected, right?
Of course,
Yeah.
definitely.
Now,
hands
do you
down.
guys have a camera? You go down in there and look at that?
We do. We'll sweep it and also run a camera down there, do a video inspection. And then
Awesome.
once we're done with that, we also email the video inspection to
That's
the customer.
fantastic. And that's, and then you'll know even more so at that point whether they need a liner or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If they don't have a stainless liner, we always suggest it. Just where, again, those clay tiles will do the same thing that brick will do over time. Water will get in there, freeze, and cause them to break.
Because they do have seams.
They do, correct.
Yeah, because I've seen them put them together and they just put a little bead of mortar on there and they pump them right on top of each other. And there is a weak point there, yes.
Over time, especially in New England climate, the harsh temperatures, it gets pretty cold.
Well, you think about how cold they get, and then when you start a ripping fire in there, now they heat up fast,
Very much
then
so.
they cool down, they're heating up. So I know from my experience with wood, when wood heats up and gets cold again, expansion and contraction, everything expands and contracts. So
Correct.
once those flues expand, they're going to break the seal with a two. I would think they would have some better, maybe they do now, I've been out of that industry for a while, they might have a better way to seal where the 2 points come together than just using mortar. You'd think they'd have some kind of a splice or something that would go in between. There you go, there's a patent for you.
Well,
New
think
idea.
about it. We'll team up.
I'm too old for that. No. But Kyle, another thing I want to touch on too while we got the time, time goes by so fast, is the big thing I hear a lot about and I know absolutely nothing about is pellet stoves. It seems to be the rave now. I go into these home improvement stores and they have bags and bags of pellets. And
Yes.
I don't have a clue how those, years ago, a lot of people were burning, they converted over to coal. And because the coal would burn longer and
Right.
you didn't have to tend it as much if you had a wood stove. And the pellets, I don't even know what they make them out of. Maybe you can enlighten our viewers to that.
Well, pellets are made out of compressed sawdust. So
Really?
Correct. Yep. They go to local mills all over the country. They grab the sawdust, pretty much go to the milling plants, and at that time they strip it of all its natural moistures. So whether it's hardwood or softwood, it doesn't play too much role at that point. Then they get made into tiny pellets. Almost looks like rabbit food.
That's what it looked like.
It
Yeah,
does.
exactly.
Yep.
But how do they must use some kind of a glue to keep it together, something, a gel or something, so it looks, yeah, like you said,
Almost kind of like a wax binding to it.
so it's not some kind of something that would cause any
No harsh
breathing.
chemicals or anything
yeah,
like that. No,
exactly,
sir.
when it's
No.
burnt. But now, with the pellets, how long can you get a fire going and I haven't got a clue how that works.
With the pellets, it's fed in through a hopper system, and it's automatically lit by an igniter, and over time it's going to put on blowers. The blower's going to help force the air out.
Oh.
So with the pellets, they do a great source of heat as far as on low or on high.
Yeah.
On a lower temperature, you're going to be in the house, maybe a little bit, but mostly out of the house. On higher temperatures, when you're going to be home, you're going to have that cranking, get that full heat source. Pellet is nice just where it's not as labor intensive as wood. It's kind of the middleman between wood and gas.
But you're committed to buy them, and you can't go out and make those on your own. Like you can chop your own firewood
Correct.
if you don't want to buy a cord of wood. You can find your own wood. But as far as the pellets go, it's like if they go up in their price 20%, it's not like you could shop around for cheaper pellets, can you? I'm sure you could, but
You can, but
You know.
you want to stick with a high-grade pellet. Good fuel to it, keeps the stove in good condition.
but it's actually is it a good alternative to wood?
I think it is. Just where wood, where you buy it by the cord, and there's no regulation as far as how well it's seasoned, nor do people make sure it's seasoned properly at their home.
Right.
With pellets, they do go through a standard as far as how they have to be made, how the moisture is stripped out, and as far as the fuel source goes. So with it, pellet is going to be a better source, just where it's more regulated, more consistent. Where wood, it's an up and down. Pellet,
Right.
nice and consistent.
Interesting. So now, if you were to get a pellet stove, would you be able to convert that to burn wood also?
You cannot.
Oh,
Two different animals. Wood stoves, pretty much a natural combustion rate,
Right.
just a slow burning. With pellet stoves, there's actually a motor inside, which causes the pellets to burn at a harder rate.
okay.
So with that,
So you have to have an electric source with that?
yes, sir.
I see.
If you ever did lose power, you don't have a great heat source. However, if you put them on a backup generator, still a great heat source.
But it'll still work without the electricity, but it just won't hit, the blower won't.
Nope,
maybe.
pellet stoves are purely electric.
Really?
Yes, sir. When they're running,
Wow.
they use the equivalent of a couple light bulbs.
And does that also factor into the venting of it too?
Yes,
To vent it out?
it is. It does use a motor to help exhaust.
Oh, wow, so that's something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Now, tell us a little bit, now you guys have, do you have a pretty good sized showroom in Hanson, right? Yeah, you have
We are. We're located across from the Hanson commuter rail with Dunkin' Donuts is. We're expanding our showroom currently,
Okay.
putting a couple more gas fireplaces on display,
Mhm.
but we do have a wide selection of pellet stoves, wood stoves, gas logs, and good crew to help see what would fit best.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I hope some of the viewers might give it a thought, check it out, because I don't know if is there a better time of year where it's a little less expensive to do, or is it always, you know, the price doesn't change? In other words, you know, if you guys get slow like in July, do you run specials?
Of course we do. Of course we do.
Yeah.
Leftover inventory, floor models. We always do specials on those in the spring.
So that's your best time to for anybody it's almost like your off season.
Spring and summertime. Sometimes the best time to buy is tax-free weekend in August, as long as the state has it.
There you go.
We do have spring specials as far as getting people moving, so they're not waiting until the last minute like
Yeah.
we all do.
Right.
So anything we do to help motivate, we try.
That's awesome. That's excellent. Why don't you tell our viewers now? You guys have a website and
We do.
email. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about how they can get in touch with you guys if they want?
Well, we can be reached at sales@southshorefireplace.com. We have a website which will have southshorefireplace.com's showroom and also different models on display. Also, our phone number is 339-244-4478.
And you're the man answering the phone, are you?
Yes, sir.
There you go. So you'll get to speak to the movie star here. Well, I got a few more questions we could talk about. I mean, we've still got a few minutes left. We're running low on time, so you know, we can
Ask away.
keep it going. With the wood stoves, say I don't have the fireplace. I've seen many people put in wood stoves. Not normally, but in most cases I've seen them, they put them in a corner.
Right.
And they put you have to put something under it, like a tile or something that won't get.
They call it a hearth pad or some type of non-combustible material underneath. Bluestone comes up beautifully.
Okay.
Brownstone.
You guys install all that, or you
do
sub that out? Or?
No, we install it all.
do?
We deal with Chimney Chap. They're local installers, and we do everything soup to nuts.
So you have to put a special, and I've seen them on the outside of homes. It's like a
Double wall chimney pipe.
stainless steel flue, and what's inside that?